Hi, this is Thomas Swaak, Philips Innovation Services Change Management Hacks. Hack number 13, an appropriate number. It takes 3 practical steps to constructively deal with a disruption. Let me repeat that for you. It takes 3 practical steps to constructively deal with a disruption. Now, let me give you a very personal example. Last Friday, I came out of a summit at which I had been the master of ceremonies and the keynote, and I was walking back to my car, and I tripped, started to fall, thought I would catch my fall, and then came to with blinding pain in my shoulder. And it had turned out, it felt like I had popped my shoulder out of its socket. So as I sat there or actually lay there screaming, people came up, they sat me up a little bit, which hurt even more. And I kept yelling for people to come and pop my shoulder back into its socket, begging them to actually do this. And in the course of time, 2 people actually came up and they said, well, we can do this. We know how to do this. But the way you look, you're reacting so extremely. We don't trust ourselves. We think more might be going on. So you need to wait. And I had to wait and wait and wait until the ambulance came. They covered me with blankets, put ice on the shoulder, and I kept begging for someone to fix my shoulder. Now, once the ambulance arrived, the guys who came out, the paramedics, took a look at me, and my first reaction to them was pop my shoulder back into its socket, pop it back into its socket. And they looked at me and said, if you don't mind, we're going to take you inside the car and we're going to examine you, and then we'll let you know what we're going to do. So once they were inside, the first thing they did was get some medicine in me to take away the pain. And I actually arrived at the hospital higher than a kite. And in the hospital, they continued similar treatment. They actually put an injection into the shoulder because the pain was still too great, put me on morphine, and when I was floating happily, ultimately they could take an x-ray, put me in a CT scan, and they determined that my shoulder had been broken in 2 different places, in the socket and on the outside. And if somebody had tried to put it back into its socket, they would have caused irreparable harm to my shoulder. So why tell you this very personal story? Because out of it come the 3 practical steps that you can take when you face a disruption. So a disruption can take any form. I fell and broke my shoulder in a project or a transformation. Something can happen that you completely didn't count on. And the first step to take is to perhaps write down the solution that you immediately feel coming up to deal with the disruption, and to shelve it, to take a little time. The next step is to sit with a couple of people and to reflect on what actually happened and to find the root cause of what caused the disruption. And then the third step to take is to actually take action that makes sense. And it may be the first action that you came up with, but it's highly likely that it may be another set of actions because you've actually taken the time to see what is going on and taken away the filter of emotion and fear and whatever else you might be reacting to within the disruption. And you've looked at it as a matter of fact. And luckily, the people who helped me out looked at my disruption as a matter of fact. They ignored my first solution and said, let's step back and really find out what's happening. And that's what actually saved my arm. Now, Wednesday, I'll hear whether the arm needs to be repaired or not. At the moment, the solution was to immobilize it so the bones get an opportunity to heal, and the muscle and the bleeding and the swelling gets to go down. It was an incisive event. I thought it was a very, very strong lesson on 3 practical steps to follow when disruption hits you. Shelve the first solution, talk about it to some people, get to the root cause, and then decide a course of action. And keep breathing. This was Thomas Swaak, Philips Innovation Services Change Management Hacks. Tell me what you think.